fired up. Just do your thing here, bud. Nobody's any better at this than you are.
Have fun, take a deep breath.
Give him hell at the end. You like to?
Fight like hell like we do every week. You are the best here.
Brett, be affirmative.
You told me to get on.
Info. Ready. Ready. Go slow. Green, green, green. Lock it down, lock it down. 14.
I'm destroyed, and I just got drove through like 6 times on the 14th. What the f*** is he thinking? That is the stupidest thing I've seen in my career. Literally.
Everything you described is accurate. Haven't even finished the second stage yet. Half the field's wrecked.
Hell yeah!
11 got it. Rowdy there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work.
Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4. Great job, guys.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark, and it's a Friday morning edition of Racing in the Draft. What's up, family man? What's up, Wyatt? All the boys are here this morning. Good to see you guys. I thought you guys had jobs and had work and stuff. I am off for the weekend. I am headed to Martinsville for the entire weekend. Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. Should be quite an adventure this weekend, going to hang out with my best friend. Wyatt says, I'm at my job. Well, I'm glad you were able to watch my video and support, so I appreciate that. I wasn't really sure if anybody was going to be able to make it on this morning, but glad to see you guys here. Yeah, so we don't have any practice or qualifying information. This is strictly historical data from the track and predictions, and oh my, it's going to be a slugfest this weekend. That's if the tires are what they think they're going to be, this could potentially be the race of the year. And that's a huge bar to get over, considering we had 3 wide finishes at Atlanta, we had 0.001 seconds at Kansas, we had severe tire fall off at Bristol, we had the race last weekend at Miami. I mean, we've got a lot of races this year that have been for the record books, to say the least. But we have 6 drivers for 4 spots, or for 2 spots, because 2 are already locked in, and both of those came from underneath the cut line. This race could be iconic. All 6 of the drivers for these 2 spots have all won before at Martinsville in recent history. Honestly, you could take any of the 6. I'm not usually excited for Martinsville. I am this year. The drama is real. Oh, absolutely, Wyatt. The drama is it's gonna be electric. It's gonna finish pretty close to being in darkness, as the race is supposed to go green, I think, like at 2 or 2:30. It's typically about a 4-hour race, which should put it at about 6. And with the time change, it will start to get dark at about 5:30. So I don't know if the sun will be completely set by the time the race is over, but we should finish up under the lights. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. I'm not sure we see anything like a Ross Chastain type move, but that's illegal, by the way, but I don't take anything for granted this weekend. I mean, we could easily see all 6 of these drivers not finish the race if this tire falls off as bad as they want it to. It's gonna be interesting. But last week we saw, we've had so many great moves this year in NASCAR, but this one with Tyler Reddick coming to the finish and literally almost pulling a Ross Chastain without touching the wall and just pretty much going full throttle through 3 and 4 to pass Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin for that win was a heck of a move. And I mean, even Tyler Reddick was like, I'm not sure how I pulled that off, but I did. With Michael Jordan there to witness it all, it was quite an epic finish. And it ended up working out quite well for me because I ended up cashing a little bit. Not big wins, but I ended up for the day. But our optimal lineups for Miami real quick. We'll go over this. 267 laps at Miami. Tyler Reddick getting the win, starting from the pole. I definitely called that shot. I figured this is one of his best tracks. It didn't look great there for a little bit. They had to kind of pull a Hail Mary out at the very end and got lucky with a caution to get that win. But he did lead 97 of the 267 laps. So pretty good dominating performance by Tyler Reddick. Ryan Blaney, as normal, and following up last year, raced really, really well from 20th to 2nd. Chase Elliott hung in there, which I was actually somewhat surprised with, but I figured he was going to get himself a top 10 or top 5, so I had him in some lineups. AJ Allmendinger, again, with a top 10 finish. I mean, for being a road course ringer, he seems to, at this point, be a Miami Homestead ringer. He just is a lock for a top 10 there. The past 3 years, he's finished in the top 10. Michael McDowell, surprisingly, even though I kind of was like, you know what, if AJ's running this well and he's a road course guy, maybe Michael McDowell pulls off something. I wasn't real sure, so I didn't go full in on Michael McDowell, so I did get a little bit of a thumbs down for that one. But Ryan Preece, showed up again for the top 10 finish. I mean, SHR is making me look really dumb at this point, because I was like, okay, they're done. They're calling it in. They're showing some extra life here. I mean, I'm really impressed with how well some of the SHR card are doing. I keep seeing rumor that Ryan Preece is going somewhere. I haven't been able to figure out where it's going. There's been a lot of other things going on in our world right now, and I've been a little focused on those types of things. Not endorsing any candidate, but if you have not voted yet, make sure you hit the polls and vote early if you can in your state. That's all I'll say about that. But back to Miami, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell. I mean, look at all these guys. Carson Hocevar, another surprising top 10 finish for Carson Hocevar. I guess we need to quit saying it's a surprise, because he just continually finishes either top 10 or top 15. I'm telling you, when he really gets dialed in, and I don't know if the sophomore slump will kick in for Carson next year, but I'm thinking maybe year 3, kind of like what we're starting to see out of Austin Cindric. We're starting to see Austin Cindric really show why he actually deserves to be in the Cup Series. And I think both of these guys, depending on whether Carson has a hangover year or not next year, or the sophomore slump as they call it, will be something to talk about. But Austin Cindric has gotten past the sophomore slump at this point and has really started to show that he belongs at Penske and belongs in the Cup Series. So I think he's going to be somebody to really watch next year. Next year, we have a stacked field of drivers for next year. It's going to be fun to watch. But our optimal lineup, Christopher Bell is the 2024 champ. There's nobody that can catch him. We don't have enough races. Good job, Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, for giving it your best shot. But Christopher Bell with 13 optimal lineups out of 34 races. That's pretty impressive, to say the least. And if he makes it to Phoenix, Christopher Bell is my pick. So, that's the fun thing about doing stuff during the day and also the kids are off from school, so my son's friends are probably stopping by, and so just bear with the dogs and the noise and all that fun stuff. Usually at 10 o'clock, everybody's starting to wind down and go to bed. But at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's a little different story in my house. All right. But Christopher Bell, your optimal lineup winner for the year. We'll finish it out and have the total, at least what happens at Martinsville. Once again, this chart showed absolutely nothing. I'm not sure I will show this chart on Sunday or not. Let's see why it says Preece has been killing it. Heard Preece is going to the 60 at RFK, third car. Yes, I think I did see that, but I didn't know if it was confirmed or not, and I don't know if it's actually confirmed that they're going to run the third car. I think there's still a lot of what ifs about this whole lawsuit thing and 32 charters and whatever else NASCAR is doing. I did see this morning that the expedited review was denied by the judge, so or at least the expedited discovery for 2311 and front row will not happen. So that was kind of a win for NASCAR. It's still a long way to go, but it would have been nice to have them open their books early. So, but back to this chart, I don't think I'm going to run it because I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to get all of this information in as well with all the other practice information. If I can, I'll have it. If not, you can go look it up at NASCAR.com. But it really has not shown what I thought it was going to show. Whereas this has been a little bit better, but not really. I mean, we still had, and that's not right. I didn't finish this. We'll just scrap this. Let's just get to the meat, because I actually have to make it to Danville, Martinsville by, I don't know, 3:30 today. Picking up my best friend, his son, and a couple other buddies, and we're all going to head to Martinsville for the truck race tonight. All right, the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville Speedway. Oh, did I not fix this either? I didn't fix this either. Well, that's what I get. All right, either way, Martinsville is a paperclip, half-mile track, only 9 degrees in the banking, I think, if I remember correctly. Concrete in the corners, pavement throughout. It's half-mile, it's short, it's flat. The past few years have been lackluster, to say the least. The tire fall-off was non-existent, and it was always seemed to be very warm, which ended up being more of a nutrition type of race. By the physical body, not the physical car. So it looks to be like 67 degrees, 68 degrees for the race, but it's going to be sunny, which will warm the track up, which hopefully will add to some tire wear. I think it's going to be pretty ideal temperatures for fans, for the drivers, for tire fall off, for track conditions. Everything seems to be lining up really well. I'm expecting probably a really large crowd for that race. But either way, it's 500 laps. We are absolutely looking for one, if not two, dominators. I would only imagine that those dominators are probably going to come from the 6 drivers that are looking to lock their way in. So those will probably be our focus points. And really, honestly, I would just run multiple lineups with Draftkings and just mix and match those guys. Somebody's not going to do well, and 2 of the guys are going to do well. If you had a crystal ball, you might be able to figure that out. But I mean, when we get to the stats, they are Loctite. There is not a whole lot of discrepancy with them, and it's actually 7. The only one that really probably is very glad he locked his way in last week is Tyler Reddick, who is not very good at Martinsville. He's gotten better recently, but he's still nowhere to the level of Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, and the rest of them. So either way, our optimal lineups, I mean, as you can see, it's, the front runners. I mean, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano from the spring race, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Eric Almirola, who's always been Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott showing up twice. Then in the spring, we had Chase Briscoe, Ryan Preece. That was the year Ryan Preece got the pole and probably should have won that race. He was the fastest car on track until he got a speeding penalty and got mired back into traffic and still ended up 15th. That was a heck of a performance by Ryan Preece. So he will be somebody that we will definitely look at when we get to the driver-by-driver breakdown. Once again, in the fall of 22, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the guys that are looking to get their wins and lock their way in inside this optimal lineup. But once again, there's not a whole lot of guys that are coming from the back. I mean, Michael McDowell from 35th to 21st, and that was the lowest priced driver in that one. Harrison Burton, same thing. The 2 lowest priced guys were the ones that kind of snuck in, and they barely finished in the top 10. Chase Elliott actually lost positions in PD, which is something we don't normally see, but he was able to lead 83 laps, which kind of gave him a little bit of a bump. So it's really the back marker guys. The problem is it's such a short track, and if they get lined up one behind each other, literally before they know it, the leader is lapping traffic by lap 40 out of 500. So it could be very quickly to where the leader starts lapping the guys that are slow and in the rears. So that will also add to some of the drama. Don't have any practice times. I will try to have this chart because this one does seem to show something, and especially with the extended practice session we're going to see because of the softer tire. I will have this information on Sunday as well, as long as the best value is coming from the back. So that's all loaded up and ready. All right, let's get to it. Driver by driver breakdown. If you are new to this, we'll kind of start from the top. We do not have any practice or qualifying because it hasn't happened yet, and I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know what's going to happen. But this part here, the 1 win, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 58.6 Draftkings average, and a 6.0 average finish, comes from the last 5 races at Martinsville, which are all next-gen era cars, which all were snooze fest, to say the least. But either way, we still have the data from the next gen era. Depending on what happens with practice and with this tire combination, I don't know how historical data is really going to come into play, other than the guys that we saw do really well at potentially Bristol with the huge tire fall off, or even Richmond when we had some optimal tire usage. And the guys that were able to manage their tires, but really, excuse me, if we start to see a large amount of tire fall off during practice, the guys with the most experience and that do well with tire management will end up doing well, or should do well. So that the 5 races correlates to this line here. The last race, of course, was the spring race, which was a 400 lap, not a 500 lap race. Kyle Larson finished second. And the full race history here, 19 total starts for Kyle Larson, 1 win, 5 top 5s, 7 top 10s, 13 top 20s, and a 15.2 average finish. He has been much better ever since he got into the 5 car at Hendrick Motorsports. Hendrick is also a very dominant team here at Martinsville, along with Joe Gibbs Racing. Those 2 teams have a almost lock on Martinsville, but Penske has been kind of the Cinderella team as of late at Martinsville, so don't take them out of the picture either. I mean, Joey Logano always has run pretty well at Martinsville. I don't expect Joey Logano to be a factor. He's already locked his way in. I mean, he's going to go after a win, but he's also not going to go get himself in trouble and put himself in the middle of this 6-way battle for 2 spots. So if it happens to fall in his lap, he'll take it. But I don't think Joey Logano is going to go and potentially create an enemy going into Phoenix. I just don't think it's smart. Same thing with Tyler Reddick. I just think they're gonna get some laps in. If the opportunity provides itself and they're in a position to win, they're going to do it. But I think otherwise, I think they just kind of hang out and wait till next week. Kyle Larson, 6 wins on the season. He is -7 from the cut line. Not necessarily in a must-win position at this point, but he definitely needs to practice well, qualify well, get stage points, and get a great finish. So he needs to maintain a top 10 position all race and not do anything dumb. The pit crew needs to not do anything dumb. Denny Hamlin, 11,300. In the last 5 races here at Martinsville, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 76.0 Draftkings average, and a 10.4 average finish, and he finished 11th in the spring race. He has 37 total starts with 5 wins, with an 8.5 average finish. He is -18 from the cut line. So once again, he's kind of not in desperation mode, doesn't absolutely have to win to get in. He would have to have some help from William Byron and Christopher Bell to get up there, but he's in the kind of the same boat as Kyle Larson. He needs to qualify well, he needs to finish stages well, and needs to be running in the top 5 and see what happens at the end of this race. All of these guys, the first 6 guys here are all playable. It's really good for DraftKings. It's going to come down to where they qualify And if there is any place differential, I'm really not placing place differential on these 6 guys. It's really going to be what their practice speeds and qualifying location is. That's going to be the key. Some of the issue is Denny Hamlin has had trouble on pit road with his crew. So, when we're looking at who we may or may not start, that will become a factor. Kyle Larson's crew had a little bit of an issue last week, but before that, they've been locked in. Christopher Bell's crew has been locked in. William Byron's crew has been locked in. I mean, I'm telling you, this is going to be an amazing race. Ryan Blaney, who is minus 38, is absolutely, in my opinion, unless 4 of the guys wreck out early and Ryan Blaney can get a top 10 finish, which I just don't see happening. I mean, Martinsville is one of those tracks that you can go up, you can, unless you break a toe link, you can beat the crap out of this car, and you can still end up being able to run because aerodynamics don't matter much of anything at this track. So it's all tires and driver ability, and can you be around at the end? You don't want damage, but you can still not get knocked out of the race early. So, Ryan Blaney's going to definitely need to probably try to win to get in. He did it last fall, so anything's possible. I mean, he's got, look at his stats here, Martinsville, for the 5 races in this next-gen era. 1 win, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s. All 5 races he's finished in the top 10. 5 top 20s. 73.4 Draftkings average with a 4th place average finish. He finished 5th here in the spring and finished 1st in the fall last year. I mean, and even out of the next gen era, 17 total starts with a 5.6 average finish. Ryan Blaney is just really good at Martinsville. This is going to be a slugfest. William Byron next in line here at 10,800. He's got 2 wins in the next gen era. He doesn't have quite the stats as Ryan Blaney, but he does have the 2 wins. 9.2 average finished. He finished 1st here in the spring. 13 total starts with those 2 wins and a 10.9 average finish. His average finishes aren't quite as good as the previous 3, but he's got 2 wins in the next gen era, so definitely nothing to blink at. And he's +7 to the cut line, so he's a little bit on the good side. Now that's still really scary territory, especially with the other guys that you're facing up against, and you don't want to all of a sudden have a Ryan Blaney get a win, and now you're not +7, you're actually, I don't know, what's Christopher Bell? +29, so you're actually -22 to Christopher Bell. So he's going to have to get some stage points. So, I mean, the only one that's kind of a little bit on the safer side is Christopher Bell, but he's still not out of territory. He's not out of danger. Wyatt thinks Elliott wins. Okay. Okay. I don't. That would not be my pick. Honestly, if I'm picking, it's gonna be probably a Joe Gibbs car. It's probably going to be Hamlin or Bell. That's just kind of my thought. With a Byron or Larson, depending on if Larson doesn't screw up. I think Elliott finishes 5th. Chase Elliott is absolutely in a must-win position. I'm not sure, unless a tornado hits the track and wrecks all the cars except for his, I'm not sure he can point his way in. I think he has to win to get in. He does not have a win here in the next-gen era card. His next-gen era stats are fair. They're not as good as some of the others, but he's always run kind of in that top 5, top 10, and kind of fades off a little bit. He's got a 10.2 average finish. Nothing data-based, just a hunch, Denny or Elliott. I feel it in my bones. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this is Denny's race to lose, to be honest. And this is before looking at practice or qualifying. I mean, if they unload and they're slow, I'll change my tune about that. But, I mean, Denny Hamlin, number one, if this tire wear is what they think it's going to be, Denny Hamlin's history at this track. He and his crew chief want to win this race almost as much as they want to win the championship. Wouldn't say as much, but it's really, really close, especially listening to Actions Detrimental. This is one that they have really circled that they want to get this win. I just don't. I mean, I think Chase Elliott's just a solid driver. I just don't think he makes the next round, and I just don't think. They're not that he's not a great driver, and it's just I still scratch my head on why Chase Elliott is the favorite driver in the fan poll. It just baffles me. He just has, in my opinion, little to no personality. I saw a tweet this morning. I think it was either Jeff Gluck or I don't know. One of the reporters asked him on a call. Did Netflix reach out to you about being part of the Netflix special? And all he goes is, no. And that was it. I was like, can you have a little bit more personality? I'm like, hey, yeah, no, I just didn't want to be involved in that. I'm a Larson fan, and they're teammates, and that's great. But I mean, if it's not Larson that's the most favorite driver, I mean, at this point, he's loved and hated by everybody. Denny Hamlin. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's just out there all the time. Why Denny wouldn't be potentially that? It's beyond me. And I think Larson's probably more of a fan favorite. And I could see. I mean, I think William Byron's more of a fan favorite than Chase Elliott or Ryan Blaney. I don't even put Chase Elliott pretty much in the top 10. I mean, honestly, I like Corey LaJoie more than I like Chase Elliott. Not for driver ability, but for personality. And I think that's really what you're voting for, is the personality. But I don't know. Whatever. Christopher Bell, 10,300, has a win here in the next-gen era in the last 5 races. Now, his stats aren't quite as good, and that really got pulled off from last early in the spring. Man, they were just bad. They unloaded bad. They performed bad. And this is where Christopher Bell has to be a little bit concerned, as he cannot have a repeat from what he had in the spring. But he does have one win here in the last 5 races, with 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, and 4 top 20s, and a 15.8 average finish. So, I mean, out of all of them, I mean, Christopher Bell's the safest, but we look at the average finish, that becomes a little concerning and a little scary. Now, he needed to win here in 2022 to make it to the final round, and that's where he got the win. So, don't put anything past Christopher Bell. He's bound and determined. And like I said, he does lead and won the Optimal Lineup Challenge for a reason. Joey Logano, who I don't think will be a contender unless the opportunity just presents itself. I mean, sometimes Joey likes to stick his nose where it shouldn't be, so I would not be surprised if Joey Logano decides to try to go out and dominate and win this race. But I think if he's struggling a little bit, I would be surprised if Joey Logano sticks his nose into somewhere it doesn't belong, because you don't know how bad you ruffle somebody's feathers going to Phoenix, and you don't want to make enemies in this race with 1 week to go to try to get your 3rd championship. But his average finishes are phenomenal. I mean, he's almost as good as Ryan Blaney. 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 4.4 average finish. He finished 6th here in the spring. He does have 1 win here, but that's all he has. But he's been very, very solid and in the top 10. So, Matt, I don't know if you're still listening. Joey Logano might be a sleeper dark horse pick. I know you're not doing that this time around. You're doing all NFL stuff, and hopefully your night went okay last night. That was an interesting game, to say the least. Definitely 2 different halves of football. Martin Truex Jr., 9,300. I think Martin Truex Jr., so the little asterisk up here, I kind of, before pricing came out, I kind of did my own generic pricing, and I just found Martin Truex Jr. to be absolutely way overpriced at 9,300. I don't think there's a whole lot of value here. His the next gen era has not been great at Martinsville for Martin Truex. 15.2 average finish with only one top 5, one top 10, only 3 top 20s. I mean, once again, I don't know if any of these guys, I mean, Martin's going to want to win before the season is out, and he does have 3 wins here. Martin Truex Jr. just doesn't, unless he just happens to qualify and race really well, I don't think these guys are going to stick their nose. It's going to be kind of like next week. I don't think anybody's going to stick their nose in the middle of this dogfight. I think you just take what you get, and if it's there, then you take it. But I don't think these guys force the issue with these other 6 drivers that are going to completely battle. I should start a Discord. Actually, I have a Discord. I haven't done anything with it. But yeah, I will send the link out for the Discord, either after this video or before the next video. But I do have a Discord. Right now it's just Matt and I in there. And Matt's not a big Discord guy. So yeah, if you like Discord, I use Discord a ton, especially for my iRacing stuff. And yeah, we could build a community there, and we can chat and do all those things. All right, next. So I just think Martin Truex Jr. is overpriced. Tyler Reddick, $9,000. I mean, I said Tyler Reddick has not been really that good at Martinsville. He's really not that good at short tracks. I'm not sure why this didn't fall over. Why is he 1 top 5, 4 top 10s? I don't think that's right. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Yeah, something didn't transfer over right. Tyler Reddick actually is no top 5s, 1 top 10, 1 top 15, 2 top 20s with an average finish of 21.8. So this chart is not right. I think this was left over from last week. So yeah, we'll just kind of pull this over here. So yeah, Tyler Reddick at these 5 races is not great. He's got an average starting spot of 18.8, 21.8 finish average. Yeah, it's not pretty for Tyler Reddick at Martinsville. So this graph is incorrect. I'll have to fix that before we do the video on Sunday morning. But Tyler Reddick is not very good. I mean, he's got a 19.4 average finish, no top 5s. So, and that's in his entire history. But he is locked in. He doesn't care. He is going on to Phoenix to race for a championship. Who's going to join him? Ty Gibbs. I think Ty Gibbs is overpriced. That's what the asterisk on that side is for. Just doing the stats. He's got an 18.8 finish. He's finished in the top 20 every time. So I guess it all depends on where Ty Gibbs ends up qualifying. And once again, this is a broken record. I don't think Ty Gibbs is going to go stick his nose in between a Denny Hamlin and a Christopher Bell, who are his teammates, who are battling to try to make it to the next round, to potentially cause an issue. I think, these guys are going to be like, hey, I finished 7th. That was the first place guy outside the chase guys. And they're going to be like, that was a win in my book. They don't get the grandfather clock, but I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, these guys will go for wins. Trust me. But I also don't think, Ty Gibbs has got teammates that are trying to make the Final 4. And Ty Gibbs is kind of a part owner of that group. So I don't think he's going to stick his nose there. Chase Briscoe, I think, is underpriced. What a phenomenal record for Chase Briscoe at this track. That's why I say SHR may not be done quite yet. 7.6 average finish for the 5 races here at Martinsville. 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s. All the races he's finished in the top 10. That's Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano-esque numbers in the next gen era. So do not be surprised if Chase Briscoe shows up and wants to play. Now, Chase Briscoe is going to be a member of Joe Gibbs Racing next year. So not saying he won't go for some wins, but I think he also knows where his bread is going to be buttered next year. So I will be shocked if he tries to stick his nose in the middle of anything. If the opportunity presents itself, he will. But he does have a really good average finish here. So, depending on where he qualifies, may end up being a good play for DraftKings. Ross Chastain, yeah, we know Ross Chastain has no problem sticking his nose in the middle of whatever, whenever, however. Um, and he's got a decent average finish, 10.2. He's got 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 5 top 20s. 11 starts with a 17th place average finish, which is not great, but the next gen era has been much better for Ross Chastain. And out of all the people out there, Ross will absolutely stick his nose in the middle of whatever. He does not care. Um, Other than I don't think he'll rough anybody up, especially the Hendrick guys, because he and Rick Hendrick have already had many discussions about uh, ruffling feathers at Hendrick Motorsports. So, do I think Justine's going to be smart? Yes. If he can get out in the lead and steal a win, he absolutely will. Kyle Busch may be in the same boat. He has no alliances to anybody else except for him and himself. So I expect Kyle Busch, if he has the opportunity, will absolutely go for the win. And he will move any of the guys that are racing for a championship out of the way to get that win. So I expect Kyle Busch not to play fair, and if he has the car. Now, recently at Martinsville, he has not had the car, and it has been awful to watch. I think last year he got lapped before who was in the race that year? That BJ McLeod. Kyle Busch got lapped before BJ McLeod one year at Martinsville in the next gen era, and I was like, oh, Kyle Busch is not good in this car at that track. So I think Kyle Busch is going to struggle again. But who knows? This new tire may be something different. Brad Keselowski, $8,000. Yeah. 20.4 average finish in the next gen era here. One top 5, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s. Nothing stellar by any means. He finished 24th. It'll all depend on how he practices and qualifies, on whether I have much interest in Brad this weekend. It's just his finishes are not great. Bubba Wallace, $7,800, I think might actually be a little bit underpriced. 9.8 average finish, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s. He does have a win way back in the Truck Series here at Martinsville. He finished 4th here in the spring race. The Toyotas run pretty well. It's kind of astonishing that Tyler Reddick, I think, has the worst average finish of all the Toyotas in the field. Well, not except for Legacy, who I'm not sure we call them a Toyota team at this point yet. But I think Bubba Wallace Bubba Wallace is also not going to. He's going to behave. He's not going to stick his nose. He's got a Joe Gibbs Racing Alliance. Now, if it's Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson, absolutely, he's going to go after it hard. If it's him and Chase Elliott, he's going to go after it hard. If it happens to be a Denny Hamlin out front, who is his boss also, or a Christopher Bell or something like that, Bubba Wallace will try to make a show. Same thing with Alex Bowman. He knows his place and his role here. He's not going to go and screw something up. $7,700. 15.8 average finish. He does not have a win the next gen era, but does have a win prior to that. Stole one from Denny Hamlin one year. And it's a 15.8 average finish with an 8th place finish in the spring. Depends on where Alex Bowman qualifies on if I'll have much of any interest. I'm not expecting anything lights out for him. He potentially is going to be a top 15 or top 10, but it's really I don't think he's going to be somebody that's going to go out and dominate this race. Now, practice may change my mind on that, but I think, we'll see something a little different. Chris Buescher, kind of like Brad Keselowski, the RFK just don't seem to have this track figured out like they do the 1.5 miles or super speedways. 15.4 average finish, only 1 top 10, 4 top 20s. He finished 15th in the spring race, and his average finish is 14.2. So, unless he qualifies really bad, I think he's going to be a 15th place finish. Kind of seems what the trend is. So, Josh Berry, I think, is overpriced. Now we only have one start here, and he finished 25th. That was in the spring. But Josh Berry, if this tire wear thing really becomes a factor in practice, this price may end up being okay for Josh Berry. If not, I think he's overpriced. And we don't have enough data points to really look at, other than he did really well in the Xfinity Series, but the translation between the two cars really has not played a whole lot. But if we see huge tire wear issues during practice, the Josh Berry may come back into play, and it'll depend on where he qualifies. So definitely not taking out Josh Berry, but as of recent years, there's been no tire wear at Martinsville, so Josh Berry's been kind of irrelevant. Austin Cindric, $7,200, I think is a little bit overpriced. He's only got one top 10, two top 20s. He's definitely nowhere near as good as his other Penske teammates. But his trend line has started to move in the right direction. I don't think this is a great track for him to try to continue that trend line. Now, I think maybe top 20 is definitely very billable for Austin Cindric, but I think he's a little overpriced for his average finish of 20.6. He finished 23rd here in the spring. Like I said, only has one top 5 and two top 20s. So not expecting a whole lot, but we'll have more information on Sunday. Same thing with Daniel Suarez. I think he's overpriced at $7,000. I know it's hard to say, but if we look at his average finish, oops, I didn't erase the practice, but that is invalid. Average finish over the last 5 races here is a 23rd and only 2 top 20s. And in his full history here, only has 2 top 10s and a 22.5 average finish. Depending on where practice and qualifying happen, I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of interest in Daniel Suarez. Ryan Preece, on the other hand, 6,900. In the 3 starts, one of them he made the optimal lineup where he took the pole and led 100 and some odd laps, and they got a speeding penalty, but still came back to finish in the top 10, and he finished 9th here in the spring race with a 14.7 average finish. Depending on where Ryan Preece qualifies, I think Ryan Preece definitely is in play, depending on if there's enough place differential. That's going to be the real key with these guys back here, especially like a Ryan Preece who does run this track really, really well, are there enough place differentials to make value out of 6,900? Noah Gragson, I think, is overpriced. 25.3 average finish for the 3 races here in Martinsville, only 1 top 20, where he finished 20th in the spring. Prior to that, it's been not great here for Noah Gragson. And I don't expect that to possibly change. He was okay in the Xfinity Series here at Martinsville, but he wasn't great. It's just not his... he's never really great at the short tracks. He's been much better on the mile and a half super speedway types. Carson Hocevar, 6,700. Well, we know Carson Hocevar has no problem sticking his nose wherever, whenever, however. But his average finish here is 24th out of 2 starts, where one of them was a 17th. So the other one was not pretty. Carson, it'll depend on where Carson practices and qualifies. And like I said, there are a handful of guys that don't care that there's a playoff race going on. Carson's one of them. Kyle Busch is another one. Ross Chastain's another one. They think this is just another race. They could care less if there's playoff potentials going on. They want to go out and try to win. And Carson Hocevar is definitely there. If he has the car, he's going to go try to take the win. In fact, he may ruffle some feathers. It just doesn't come into his brain. I don't know if his crew chief or somebody will say, "Hey, back down," because Spire is part of the Hendrick family. They get a lot of technical alliance and technical supports. I would really hate for Carson Hocevar to go out and spin William Byron out and cost him a playoff spot. That would be bad. And I'm sure his crew and owner have told him, "Hey, probably need to be on your best behavior here." Todd Gillen at 6,600, 18.4 average finish, 13th place in the spring. Depends on where Todd Gillen's going to qualify and practice. If he's back in the 30s, this could be an interesting value play. He ends up getting some decent finishes out of cars with inside the race. So I'm not going to write Todd Gillen off, but there's a potential for a decent finish here. But we'll have to wait and see practice and qualifying. I'll have more on Sunday. Austin Dillon, 6,500. This is not one of Austin Dillon's better tracks. 21.2 average finish. Finished 34th in the spring. He's average finish over the full course history is 17.3, which is a little bit better than his average finish in the next gen era. He did really well at Richmond, which was a short track with a weird tire model, and he was running really well. So I'll have to see where Austin Dillon practices and qualifies, but I'm not expecting a whole lot out of Austin Dillon. Michael McDowell at $6,300. Yeah, it's just not his cup of tea. And I don't think he's going to go up and try to ruffle any feathers. I think he's just going to try to mail it in here. So depending on where he practices and qualifies, I'm not expecting a whole lot other than maybe 18th to 23rd place finish for Michael McDowell, and he's going to be like, okay, cool, let's get this year over with. Let's get on to next year. Shane Van Gisbergen, I mean, also is going to be one of those that it'll be interesting. This is going to be a test run for him. He ran the Xfinity Series here and did fair. I think this is just going to be much more of a practice and test session for Shane. I think he's also going to probably behave around the playoff guys if he's around them. So I think Shane's going to just go out, and this is going to be a practice race for him and learn how to race on these short tracks a little bit better. Eric Jones, this is a little bit better track for Eric Jones. The question is what shows up with Legacy this weekend. It's been so hit or miss over there at Legacy this year. I'm expecting a huge amount of turnover in the engineering, war room, crew chiefs, whatever you call it over there. Because, I mean, you're talking about some really, really rich guys that have a lot of money that are invested in this Legacy Motorsports with a lot of, you've got Petty, that's part of this ownership. You've got Jimmy Johnson, who's part of this ownership. Those guys want to win. And the money guy is the guy who owns Allegiant Air, who's, close to a billionaire. If he's not a billionaire, they're willing to spend the money, and they're gonna make some corrections over there in the offseason, in my opinion. Eric Jones is signed to a long-term contract. Question is, does John Hunter have a long-term contract? And is John Hunter on the hot seat? Big question mark there. Because Corey Heim is the backup driver for Legacy Motor Club. That should be interesting to see what happens in the offseason. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., $6,000. Yeah, it'll depend on where he practices and qualifies. He's a 20th place to 25th place driver here at Martinsville. He does have one top 10 in the next gen era with two top 20s. I'm just not expecting a whole lot from Ricky also. It probably maybe stays on the lead lap, depending on what cautions and how they fall and what tire wear it looks like. Zane Smith is still looking to continue his hot streak and finish in the top 20. He needs to have a good finish. He's still looking for that ride for next year. Hope he finds it. Because both Zane Smith and his brother from another mother, Chandler Smith, both deserve to be in NASCAR next year. And so far, neither one of them have a ride for next year in any of the series. That's crazy. I hope both the Smith guys find rides. They're both really good for this sport. Justin Haley at $5,700. This is not a real good track for Justin Haley. I think he just kind of learns to deal with this crew chief, this team, and everything else. It may end up getting lucky, so it'll depend on where he practices and qualifies, but I'm not expecting a whole lot of Justin Haley. John Hunter is absolutely on the hot seat at this point, in my opinion, and rumor out there has that John Hunter may be on the hot seat. John Hunter may be racing for this seat for next year, so we'll have to kind of see what he shows up in practice and qualifies. But excuse me, depending on how he qualifies, there might be some place differential here with John Hunter. It may be somebody to kind of keep an eye on. Harrison Burton. This is probably Harrison Burton's best track, averagely. He's got a 23rd place average finish. Number one, Harrison grew up just down the road in South Boston, so less than an hour from the track. The owner of the team, the Wood brothers, are 45 minutes from the track up in Stewart, Virginia. This is a home race. This is one of the last races for Harrison Burton. I expect him to probably put on a pretty good show, and he's got a pretty good average finish of 23rd, and that's with a 33rd in the spring. So Harrison Burton knows how to get around this track. The question is, he always tends to have a little bit of bad luck, which has been the kind of the curse for Harrison Burton in his Cup career. So we'll kind of see what happens with Harrison, but he kind of like John Hunter could be some sneaky, cheap picks. Corey LaJoie is not good at this track. Just plain and simple, 26.8 average finish, does no top 20s in this next-gen era, and only 2 out of his 13 total starts. So, yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot of Corey LaJoie this go around either. Daniel Hemrick, same thing, 28th place finish in the spring. That's the only one data point in this next-gen era. Prior to that, he does have one top 20 with a 24th place average finish at Martinsville. Not expecting a whole lot there. I mean, we're going to have some of these cheap guys because the pricing is really heavy at the top. But, I mean, so far, I think I like, depending on how they practice and qualify, but the John Hunter, the Harrison Burton potential plays are definitely there. It'll be interesting to see how qualifying and practice goes, though. Broken record, I know. Practice and qualifying. Kazrala 5100 finished 26 in the spring. That's a pretty good finish for your first time out at Martinsville. So, I don't know how Kaz will do with high tire wear if that does end up being the case. I'm not expecting a whole lot of Kazrala. Josh Bilicki, I almost didn't even put him in here, but he's here. Not expecting a whole lot of Josh Bilicki. I expect him to probably go first car lap down unless there's a wreck. But if they're green for 40 laps, I expect Josh Bilicki to be the first car lap down. So that is my wrap-up Friday show. I need to go pack, get on the road, and get to Danville to go meet up with my friends and go racing. In fact, my best friend's son, who is, I think, 5 or 6 now? Five. Is going with us. It'll be his second race. He actually went last year to a truck race and actually had a good time. I was actually surprised that he had a good time. So he's going to go watch the trucks with the boys and have a good rest of your weekend. And I will see everyone. Hopefully, I'm aiming for 11 o'clock on Sunday morning for a breakdown show. I might be a little hungover, though. There is a new casino in Danville that we probably plan on going to. But, never know. Hopefully, I don't make it too late of a night. But I appreciate everybody tuning in to this Friday special. Hit me up with any questions, thoughts, or concerns. Hit the like button, subscribe. And Wyatt, if you're still here, I will try to get you that Discord link. If you shoot me an email, it might be the easier way to send it, but I will post it in the description for the race preview on Sunday. So, but you can also email me at mark@racinginthedraft.com, and I'll definitely send you that Discord link. All right, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you Sunday morning. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so got to be around at the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby!
Hell yeah!
Proud of you there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work.
Keep putting yourself in position, we'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4, great job, guys. Excellent work, my man. Excellent work. Thank you.
Man, that's awesome. Set out with a goal, we got it here, bud. Thank you very much.
Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud.
Probably killed our deal there. Just feel like I gave one away. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.